Okay, great. So I will not talk about monuments in this respect, or at least not about big monuments, but small monuments. And I would like to concentrate on Egyptian stamp seal amulets from Bronze and Iron Age Transjordan to give you a short glimpse at Egyptiaca in the area of modern-day Jordan. As you know, do stamp seals represent a highly informative artifact class which provides crucial information on the social, cultural, and religious history of the southern Levant. Their systematic study in terms of origin, production, diffusion and acquisition, function, use and consumption, deposition, hoarding, loss, etc. yields scores of insight into the daily life of ancient Levantine societies, institutions, groups, and individuals. In the following, I can only present some of the evidence about the Egyptian or Egyptianizing stamp seal amulets found in Transjordan during the 2nd and the 1st millennium BCE, and having worked mainly on material found on the other side of the Jordan, I might not be the very specialist to talk about these artifacts. However, I will do my best to represent and advocate for this strain of ecliptic families, which is sometimes overlooked. In doing so, I will heavily rely on Jörg Eckl's seminal catalogue about the seals and sealings unearthed in present-day Jordan. This standard work that Eckle co-authored with Ottmar Kehl presents all available data until roughly the year 2005 and is a benchmark for the study of the ecliptic material found east of the Jordan River. It not only comprises actual stamp seal amulets, but also includes the by then known cylinder seal material from this region. Eckler and Kehl's volume will soon be fully integrated in digital format into the corpus of the stamp seals from the Southern Levant, conveniently abbreviated CSSL. A very powerful online research tool that is currently developed as part and backbone of the joint Swiss-Israeli research project Stamp Seals from the Southern Levant. This international and highly interdisciplinary project focuses on ancient stamp seals as a key medium for the study of 2nd to 1st millennia historical entanglements in the Southern Levant. The project is funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation for the years 2020 until the year 2023. It engages a side of a board of directors consisting of Christoph Fühling, Silvia Schröer, Ida Koch, and myself, an international team of postdoc researchers, PhD students, an ICT expert, student assistants, and draft persons, as well as other technical staff that are based at the universities of Bern, Tel Aviv, and Zurich. However, unfortunate for this workshop is that the updating and completion of the Transjordanian material to be integrated into CSSL will only happen at a later stage of our project, where we will, of course, include the assemblages of sites and regions explored and excavated after the publication of Eckle and Kehl, such as the material from the Fenan area or items from sites like Tel Abu Kharas, Tel Zira, and those quite many archaeological academic expeditions that began their work after fieldwork in Syria was not possible anymore. However, we will not be able to meet our high-flying goals that are a comprehensive online catalogue of all stamp seal amulets from the whole Southern Levant without the support of the scholarly community that currently works in the region. Therefore, we appeal to our colleagues in the field to share with us the ecliptic material, to point us to yet unpublished items or overlooked items from older and more recent excavations, and to assist us when connecting with museums and storage facilities. In exchange, we will gladly share with you our expertise in ecliptics and assist you in the analysis and publication of your material. Or, even better, why not become a contributor on your own and submit and publish your material on the CSSL platform As the final version of CSSL will include a citation generator compatible with online bibliographic tools and following standard reference protocols, so your intellectual property will be granted and your online publication will be cited. Our team is a very dedicated and international team involving people originating from Brazil, Canada, Germany, Great Britain, Israel, Italy, Switzerland, and the US. And we are very confident that the wide range diversity of expertise agglomerated within our team, ranging from ancient history, archaeology, from different schools, Egyptology, history of religions, biblical studies, and other scholarly disciplines will undoubtedly enrich the methodological and epistemological vistas on the field of cryptology, very much to the profit of the overall project. And by the way, soon we will post a job offer for an attractive postdoc position on the topic of the distribution of Stampseal motifs in the Southern Levant. Please check the usual channels. But now let's turn back to the actual topic of this paper, Egyptiaca from Transjordan. It is fundamental to note that currently the whole body of all Stampseal amulets found east of the Jordan is only about 5% of the estimated total of the whole corpus from the Southern Levant, which is more than 10,000 items from legal excavations. This is certainly due to the fact that there are much more large academic excavations past and ongoing in Cisjordan, and, but this is pure guesswork, that there are much less governmental salvage and rescue excavations in modern Jordan than in present-day Israel. Breaking down the numbers for Transjordan only, we are left with about 650 items from all periods and manufacturers, of which only a part belongs to the group to be discussed today. Based on Eckler and Kehl, I counted a total number of 260 items that can safely be called Egyptian or Egyptianizing. The distributing pattern of the seals and sealings of all kinds is as expected, if one overlays it with the settlement patterns of the Bronze and Iron Ages. Most of the items were found on the eastern side of the Jordan River in the upper part of the Great Rift Valley and on the fertile plateau between the Wadi al-Sarqa and Wadi al-Mujib, with highest concentrations in and around Amman. The lion's share of the Egyptian items or Egyptianizing items, scarabs and other types of amulets date to the Middle Bronze Age II, followed by the Late Bronze Age specimens, which constitute circa 25% of the whole assemblage. Much fewer items date to the Iron Age I, which is roughly the 21st and the early 22nd dynasty, and only a handful can be attributed to the Iron Age II. This somewhat corresponds to the trend observed by Gregory Munford in his 4,000 pages long dissertation, where he analyzed all Egyptianizing artifacts from selected sites in Syria, Palestine. But note, he did not cover the MB as well. If we look at the deposition of the artifacts, we see a recurring pattern that applies also for most of the following periods. As for the Middle Bronze Age items, we can observe that roughly 35% were also deposited during the period of their production. A somewhat higher share was only deposited at a later stage during the transition from the MB to the LB, after which MB items gradually faded out in the material culture of Transjordan. I'm pretty sure that the same pattern also applies for other regions. New material from the Middle Bronze Age that was not published by Eckler and Kehl and that illustrates the Transjordan glyptics of the Middle Bronze Age is quite scarce. However, in an MB layer at Tel Zira, a very fine example with the name Aus-Re, the throne name of the famous Hyksos ruler Apophis, was found. It is a highly welcome addition to the Transjordanian repertoire of attested names of pharaonic rulers. Thus far, beside Apophis, who is also attested at Pella, we know of 12 Egyptian queens and kings attested in the glyptic repertoire, ranging from Sesostris III and ending with Mykerinos on a bulla found at Balua. Also for the late Bronze Age, we can observe that during this period, glyptic material was only deposited in larger quantities after the late Bronze Age, which suggests that the late Bronze Age seals and seal amulets also later arrived in the regions east of the Jordan, similar to what we saw in the Middle Bronze Age, yet in fewer quantities. It stands to reasons, and this refers also to what Alexander said this morning. It stands to reason if such items which were deposited in later contexts, which are nowadays normally called heirlooms, if they are not actually looted material robbed in faraway Egypt from tombs and cemeteries and only later brought to Asia. An item which takes up a long Levantine tradition dating back to the beginning of the Middle Bronze Age comes from Tel Kafrian, a site positioned at a strategic location that prominently overlooks the central Rift Valley. The site is approximately 30 kilometers southwest of Amman. It has been explored by a Greek team since the early 2000s. The history of occupation at Tel Kafrian lasts, according to the excavator, from prehistoric times until the Hellenistic period, with a seemingly strong presence of the Iron Age. The context of the scarab is unclear, as is its documentation. Only meager photographs have been published yet, lacking measurements, information about the material, not showing side views, etc. The base of the scarab is diligently carved in a very clean and clear manner. Readable are the signs stool for reed matting, which represents the sound value P, the sign for bread, X1 in Gardner's list, standing for T, a ches vase to favor or praise, and below a partly broken off Hotep sign, actually a loaf lying on a reed mat, signifying to be pleased. The arrangement of the signs immediately recalls the hieroglyphic sequence of the godly name Ptah, the Memphite god of craftsmanship and the creator god of maker of all things, as he is sometimes called. However, his name is normally written with another hieroglyph instead of the ches vase, V28 according to Gardner, the shape which is, has the shape of a wick of a twisted flag, that phonetically represents the sound value for the guttural che in Ptah's name. I do not have an explanation for the substitution of the wick of the twisted flag with the ches vase, and Ptah is hardly ever displayed in conjunction with this hieroglyph, aside, for example, for a quite late item from Cemetery 200 at Tel Fares South, which is dated by Otmakil to 25th to 26th Egyptian dynasty, where it forms a part of a phonetic epithet meaning rich in favors. But maybe the Egyptologists in this round may have an explanation for this. The Hotep sign, however, can already be seen in connection with Ptah's name on a Middle Bronze Age, quite early Middle Bronze Age scarab, which was published by Daphna Ben-Tor in 2004. The engraving style might point to a possible date of the item, but as the item is very poorly the item from Tel Kafrian is very poorly documented, I hesitate to give it a date. But Tatjana Beute, a postdoc in our Synergia project, advised me on this item and suggests that the engraving style could be compared to the diligent style of the beautifully carved and heavily glazed items found in the foundation deposits of the Temple of Hatshepsut at El Bahari. If she is correct, this would suggest the 18th dynasty date for its production during the days of Thutmose III, which is the middle part of the 15th century BC. Another fine representative of the late Bronze Age that was found in a cache in a late Bronze Age layer at Tel Zira is this scarab measuring 37 millimeters in length, which is by far above the average length of irregular scarabs. It features on its base Neb Ma'atre in a cartouche, which is the throne name of Amenhotep III, who reigned in the first part of the 14th century BC. To the left of the cartouche is the epithet Tit Re, image of the god Re, which is less common than the usual Tit Imen, image of the god Amun. The item belongs to a special group of medium-sized commemorative scarabs with Amenhotep's third name, or Amenhotep III's name, and an accompanying epithet. They are usually made of faience, and Baruch Brandl, and according to Baruch Brandl, scarabs belong to this group were excavated in the palatial complexes of Amenhotep III at Gurab, at the entrance of the Fayum, and Malkata in Upper Egypt. They are thus an undoubtedly Egyptian product. Brandl, who discussed such scarabs with regard to a specimen found at Bet Shemesh, you see it on the left, in length, further notes that this group of medium-sized commemorative scarabs is the most common in the Eastern Mediterranean. In Great Canaan, which includes Transjordan and the Phoenician coast, 20 scarabs were found at 12 sites, 5 of which these sites are acted as harbors. A very neat parallel to the item from Tel Zira comes from not far away across the Rift Valley from Bet Shean. You can see it in the bottom right. Turning to the Iron Age 1. It is only during this period that Egyptian and Egyptianizing items produced during the 21st and early 22nd dynasty were immediately absorbed, which means immediately deposited, and only a few entered the material cultures at the culture at a later stage. This means that during the Iron Age 1, glyptic material potentially arriving directly from Egypt was quasi instantly consumed. As an example, I would like to present two quite interesting items that come from room 12 in early Iron Age compound at Tel Abu Kharas. They are dated by the excavators, the level 9 where they come from, or phase 9 where they come from, is dated by the excavators to the 12th and 11th century BC. Based on radiocarbon dates provided, the settlement phase was most likely active during the first part of the 11th century BC. The item above is possibly not of Egyptian origin, at least it is hard to imagine, although it is, according to the information provided by the excavator, made of enstatite, a material foreign to the southern Levant, but available in Egypt and also Cyprus. A quite similar item comes from an unknown context in Tel El Faras South and is dated by Kehl to the 19th and 20th dynasty. While concentric circles are commonly found on Middle Bronze Age items, both in Canaan but also in Egypt, they also occur on scarabs and oval pieces with sheaf-shaped handles of the late Bronze and early Iron Age, such as at Bet Shean and in other places. The item below comes from the same early Iron context as the one above, and displays in the view of the excavator a very debased rendering of Menchep-Re, the throne name of the famed Moses III. The item is yellow in color and made of composite material. Posthumous Tutmosis III scarabs come in all sorts of unusual renderings of the graphics of the throne name of this ruler of the 18th dynasty. However, I'm not able to see any resemblance of the lowest sign with the, in any case, compulsory hieroglyph Keper, the hieroglyphic rendering of the dung beetle. Rather, I would like to suggest that the lower two signs are a very debased rendering of 18th dynasty motifs depicting the head of the falcon-headed war god Montu with his typical double plume crown with the protruding uraeus and a sun disk, a motif that occurs on several items from the Southern Levant, Egypt, and also on single items from all over the Mediterranean. This motif was only common after the long reign of Thutmose III, according to Jäger, who studied them in depth. Thus, on the item from Tel Abu Kharas, only the head of the falcon and the sun disk remain. And we have also a similarly very debased rendering of this iconium on an item from Megiddo, which is unpublished but currently hosted in the Archaeological Museum at Istanbul, together with material excavated by Schumacher in the beginning of the 20th century. We cannot pass by the Iron Age 1 without mentioning the notorious early Iron Age mass-produced series that is uniquely present in the Jordan Rift Valley, the Jordan Rift Valley part of Transjordan. While I do not wish to enter a debate about the homogeneity of this series, it's plural, I agree that they consist of several groups and certainly do not want to discuss their absolute date. They need to be mentioned as a potential Egyptian import that started not before the famous Megiddo 6A horizon. Yet, I have to admit that my assumptions made almost 20 years ago may be slightly revised. In a recent study, Veit-Welske and et al. Have shown that a bronze ushepti from the royal necropolis at Tanis, associated with Psusenes, was made of Wadi Araba copper. Bernd already mentioned this study earlier. The connection with the Fenan mines, which is also attested in Phoenicia and Greece, has thus renewed already during the 21st dynasty and not, as I previously assumed, under Sheshonq I, the Libyan founder of the 22nd dynasty. Nevertheless, Sheshonq is prominently present in the Feinan area with this fine glyptic piece that clearly bears his throne name, Hetchepre Setep Im Re, rather seldom variant. Bright is the manifestation of Re, chosen of Amun Re. Alas, it is a surface find, but it is still only the second epigraphic attestation of the famous Pharaoh Sheshonq ever discovered in Cis and Transjordan. Moving on to the Iron Age 2, where the amount of Egyptian or Egyptianizing items becomes very meager. But note again the deposition pattern. Only few are deposited immediately, and some are only deposited at a later stage. In lack of a suitable new item that has not yet been published by Eckler and Kehl, I would like to present a locally made stamp seal, or possibly it's only a potsherd, of which we only know that it comes from an Iron Age context at Tel El Fukhar in northern Jordan. According to the excavators, it was probably made from a small loop handle of a vessel. The incised decoration was made after being fired, after firing. It shows a standing anthropoid figure with one arm raised that is holding what some could say has a similarity with the sign Ankh. I present this item as a local product from the Transjordanian hinterland imitating Egyptian symbolism. If I would make an analogy with Shirley's talk from yesterday when she mentioned how fashionable it was to speak French in Europe centuries ago, I would need to say that what we see here is Egyptian, but with an ugly and very heavy accent in a way. So the iconography of the Fukhar seal might have its prototypes in graphic renderings of a standing figure holding an ankh. This motif can be encountered throughout the later Bronze Ages. You see the examples in the upper row. And also a similar gesture can be seen on a locally made cylinder seal found in the debris of the Elbi temple in the Amman airport area. Also, I could discuss here now the question of foundlings, so material which is found in an utterly later phase. An example would be this Ramachite scarab from a 6th century CE tomb from Khiber de Samra. It has been published by Alexander Ahrens, and it is very interesting to see that first in Transjordan we have quite many of these very, very late occurrences, especially in Byzantine tombs. And it is also interesting to note that this amulet seemingly was a part of the personal ornaments of the deceased. So this item was still worn in 6th century CE Transjordan. Summing up, the deposition of Egyptianizing or Egyptian glyptics throughout the centuries followed a certain pattern according to which only 25 to 23% were immediately deposited, allowing us to determine the intensity of the immediate and contemporary Egyptian cultural impact. If we were taken into account material that was disposed later, our view on the respective contemporary assemblages might be blurred. Yet, it is only during the Iron Age I when most of the Egyptian glyptic goods were absorbed immediately, thus suggesting that Egypt was quite close at that time. I offered this map to show how the distribution happened and where. So during the Middle Bronze Age and the Late Bronze Age and the Iron Age II, we have primary depositions mainly or almost uniquely in the upper part of the Jordan Rift Valley and in the Northern Plateau. On the other hand, during the Iron Age I, we have also quite a few Egyptian imports in the southern part of the Rift Valley, in the Feinan area, suggesting that these items arrived directly from the south, while on the other hand, during the other periods, especially during the Middle Bronze Age II and during the Iron Age II, the Egyptian items possibly arrived in Transjordan via Phoenician hub, be it located during the Middle Bronze Age, let's say at Byblos, or later during the Iron Age II, it's being located in at harbors like Tel Dor. Thank you for your attention.